everyone, and welcome to another podcast. My name is Lucy Challenger. I'm the CEO of Polo and Tweed, and welcome to the Voice of Luxury, where today I am joined by the fabulous, beautiful and inspiring Annie Norris, who is the founder of Pure Studios in Hereford. Annie, hello, how are you?
Hi Lucy, I'm good, thank you very much. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, in this weird time that we find ourselves in yet again, but we'll get into that in a bit. Now, Annie, for everyone that's tuning in that perhaps don't follow you on Instagram or don't know the type of things you do professionally, maybe you could bring us up to speed with your amazing career to date and how you got into it.
So I'm a pole dancer. I started pole dancing when I was quite young. I was 15. I hated anything fitness sport related at school. I always had a headache when it was time for PE class. And then I saw this advertised in a local paper and I thought I'd give it a go. It sounded a bit different, a bit sexy, you know. At 15 you just started to have those feelings and I was like, I'm gonna give this a go. So that's why I started to pole dance in the first place, and then I just carried on and on. I took a gap year. I was going to go to university, so I decided to take a gap year, and during that gap year my pole dancing teacher actually moved away, so there was nobody within 50-60 mile radius teaching anything like this. So I thought, you know what, I'll hire a hall, I'll teach a few classes and then I'll go to uni. 15, 16 years on, I've not gone to uni, so I stuck with it. I'm still at my gap year.
Amazing. So, you know, for people perhaps tuning in and listening to this that don't know what pole dancing or pole fitness is, you know, I mean, what is it? I mean, are you basically, is it lap dancing, or I mean, what is it for those listening in that can only imagine it in sort of a gentleman's club situation?
Okay, so it is anything from gentleman's club to almost Olympics and everything in between. So essentially, some people call it pole fitness. So you can come along, you can come in your leggings and trainers and just a t-shirt, and you can come and learn to climb the pole, go upside down, obviously after a while, spin around it, those kind of things. Or if you're thinking maybe you just want to find your sexuality, feel a little bit more like you, or explore those kind of feelings, you can wear your 8-inch stripper shoes, and you can come into a class with a little thong on, and you can dance around the pole and learn that side of it as well. So it can be whatever you want it to be. Although most classes, in fact pretty much every class you go to, don't worry, if you wanted to go for pole fitness, you're not going to walk into the same class with someone in a thong with your teacher telling you to grind around a pole. Normally these classes are all separate and you choose which one you want to do.
Okay, I see, that makes sense. And so what sort of people come and take your classes? I mean, is there a specific demographic of person? Only women? I mean, who's coming to learn this type of amazing acrobatics around the pole?
So anything from 8 years old to 80 years old, any gender or gender fluid. It's really interesting because when I first set up my business, I was always told, like, have your ideal client in mind, which we all do, right? And I would say the majority of my customers are women above the age of 25, under 50, that just want to come and do something a little bit naughty. But actually, we do kids classes as well. We don't, obviously, I just need to say this, we don't teach any of the sexy or sensual side to anybody under the age of 18. We don't, just in case anyone is concerned about that. And our oldest client was 80. She came as part of a hen party and had a go. And so, yeah, it really is suitable for anyone, but I'd say majority females, sort of mid-30s, yeah. I've actually found, I started teaching when I was 19, and actually my client basis has grown with me. So when I was 19, I had a lot more young women come along, and now I'm in my 30s. Most of them are kind of mid-30s as well.
That's
sorry.
They've grown with you during your exploration of this world. So you mentioned earlier sort of almost the Olympics. So, I mean, is there a competitive element to your sport or your, you know, the pole dancing? Do people compete?
Yes, so there are competitions, again, from anything called Dance Filthy, which you can imagine is like the more sexy side. There are competitions in that, all the way to the World Pole Sports or International Pole Championships. I myself got through to the finals of the International Pole Championships. That was in Australia in 2018.
Wow.
So that was 10 females in the industry across the world got through to the final, so that was quite cool. So yeah, people take competitions very, very seriously, and there's anything from the amateur style competitions all the way up to the people where it is their full-time job and they have trained 6 days a week for that specific competition.
Wow. So I mean, much like a professional gymnast, I mean, what's your training regime like? If you're entering these sort of world famous competitions, what's a daily, like, you know, what's your daily routine in terms of your workouts and your fitness? Are you just on the pole for like 8 hours, or are you doing complementary training? I mean, how do you approach all of that?
So it is really different, and actually depending on what competition I've entered, my training regime changes depending on what competition I'm training for. So when I did the World Championships, I took it quite seriously. I trained 5 days a week, forced myself to have 2 rest days. But during those rest days, I did a lot of mental focus towards the competitions, put mood boards together on Pinterest, things like that, designed costumes, makeup. I was kind of living it all the time because it was quite a serious competition. Training wise, you've got to be careful you don't overtrain. But also, it's very difficult to cross train running up to a competition. You don't really want to start, carrying on at the gym, doing things like that, because it can interfere with your actual pole training. Before that, it's really good idea to cross train. But running up to a competition, you want to run your piece between 2 and 4 times a day, which to somebody that doesn't know pole dancing, you think, oh, a 3.5 minute routine, 2 or 3 times a day. It doesn't sound like much. It's the adrenaline, and you're not just performing these moves technically, you're performing them with your stage presence. Every little bit of energy goes into that, so it can actually be quite tiring.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I mean, you talk about overtraining. So have you faced injuries? I mean, did you have to go through that and then find ways to deal with that and not let it happen again, like any professional athlete would go through?
Yeah, I'm going to say I'm lucky I've never injured myself running up to a competition. That's purely though because I know I'm a procrastinator. So when I say you run it 4 times a day, that'll be twice a day for me. So I don't have to worry about overtraining. But a lot of people do injure themselves, not with my studio because I'm there training with them. So any of my students that want to compete, I'm there training with them. Also, I'd say when you're a student, you don't get the opportunity to run that 4 times a day, maybe 4 times a week, because you've got your normal job and your family, and then this is like a hobby on the side. So sure. Yeah, sure. we don't get many injuries at the studio, but I do know some pole professionals that do injure themselves before competitions. Yeah.
No, of course. I mean, anything that you're doing to an elite level, you're going to ultimately put strain on your body when it's a physical task, as it were.
Yes, and the top level competitions. So there's a competition called World Pole Sports. I think that's its name. The things that they are doing in that competition is insane. So we're talking backflips off the top of the pole, flips on the pole and recatching, kind of things you would see in Cirque du Soleil. Right. And I cannot imagine the toll that has on your body.
Yeah. And I mean, it's dangerous, right? I mean, you mentioned Cirque du Soleil, you watch an aerial silk artist at the top of their silks. And I mean, if you slip and fall, you're going to die. I mean, there must be that element of risk for the elite professionals, not those just coming to have fun in your classes, but that there is that, you're taking your life literally into your own hands.
Yeah, I remember watching a competition called Pole Art a few years ago, and there was a guy in the male category, and he did this flip off the top of the pole, and me and my husband were watching, and I watched him land, and I just thought, oh, and he jumped straight back up, and I just thought, oh, was that right? He that looked slightly off, but he literally bounced straight back up again, and carried on. And he actually released a statement afterwards saying he was at the top of the pole, it didn't feel right, and he had promised his wife before that competition he would not do the flip if it didn't feel right, and he went ahead and did it, and very, very nearly caused himself a bad injury. So
Wow, gosh, yeah, no, that's
Yeah, it's intense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you've obviously, you talk about first doing it at 15 and then, you know, starting to teach at 19. You've been in this industry for a long time now. What makes you want to get up every day and enter a new competition or teach your students? What inspires you about the work you do?
This is a really blanket statement, but it's passion. I remember when I first started my studio, I had a lot of people who were just concerned saying, pole dancing is a bit of a fad. Do you maybe take your personal training qualification alongside so you can be a personal trainer or this or that? And it's grown and grown and grown. And I think about this a lot because during COVID, it would be really easy to close down the studio because we can't physically go in. But it's the passion. I sometimes joke with people, I'm like, is it a passion or is it Stockholm syndrome with this? Like, I'm not sure anymore. am I just the pole owns me now? I don't know. But yeah, it's passion. It's passion for teaching, it's passion for helping people grow, watching them become more confident, and passion for physically teaching the technicalities of pole as well. Yeah. But yeah, I know that sounds like an airy fairy thing to say, just passion.
No.
But it really is. Yeah.
No, that's really no, it's lovely. And you know, at the end of the day, COVID has taught us that passion and what is life about really, and you've got to have these things, these dreams, these fun things you can do. So you know, if someone was listening to this, and obviously the competitive side is something that's for the professionals, you know, this is your job, this is what you do. But if someone's listening to this and thinking, I'd really like to try it, you know, I don't want to compete, but you know, I'd like to give it a go. What would be your advice about having a go? Where do they start? Do they just Google it? I mean, where do you find a good studio, or maybe not a great studio? How do you approach that?
So I always, if you think you want to give it a go, do it. Just, I think if COVID has taught us one thing, it's like life is very short. Like, this is not a dress rehearsal. If you want to try something, do it, because we're all closed now, and you know, we're sitting in our houses thinking, oh, I wish I'd tried pole dancing, for example. So just try it, Google it. Remember there, if you don't like your first class, try a different studio. I would personally recommend going to somewhere with experience. It's not saying that people that are new to teaching aren't good. They're probably absolutely fantastic. It's just that from my experience, the people who have been in the industry a little bit longer know how to make you feel even more comfortable with what you're doing, because it is quite a scary thing. It's scary walking into a Pilates class for the first time by yourself, sure. Right? Let alone a pole dancing class where you think, oh, do I need to look a certain way? Do I need to be sexy? You won't need to do any of that, by the way. You just be you. But just, yeah, give it a go. And remember, if that studio doesn't suit you, try somewhere else as well.
Yeah. No, and I think that's a really important point that you're making, that, you know, I think too often we cast judgment on things, right? We think, like I said earlier, we assume that if you pole dance, that means you're taking your clothes off for money and that's your profession. Whereas your world is so vast, and there's so many clearly women and men just having fun, getting to know their bodies. You know, it's a physical activity. So anything you do that empowers you physically is going to be good for your mind in the long run. And I totally get that place in it. I mean, you must have seen lots of funny things through teaching. You must have witnessed unusual things happening in competitions. Are there any stories you can share with us about anything unusual or funny, or anything that, you know, you'd be happy to share with our listeners?
Actually, we talked about this a little bit before, so I've been thinking about this one for about a week, and this is really disappointing. I'm going to disappoint you. I can't think of anything stand out, but everyday pole dancing teacher expect to be hit in the face. Now, let me describe what I mean by that. So explain what I mean by that. You're spotting someone in a move and you say, don't let go. And then they panic and let go. Like I had a girl let go and her arm pinged off and slapped me across the face. And you just have to be like, no problem. I was spotting another girl in a kind of cartwheel move. Her toe ended up in my mouth. So that was disgusting. That was about 6 years ago, and I still remember that like it was yesterday. So it's just lots of little things. But if you ever go to a pole dancing class and you get embarrassed by something you've done, don't worry, we've seen it 1,000 times before. It just everything. Oh, okay, here's a good one. Actually, I hadn't thought of this. So we do our annual showcase every year. We hire our local theatre and we sell out there, which is pretty good. There's about 500 tickets we sell. We have a guy who comes to our classes, and he's also a drag queen. So one of his performances, he was dressed fully in drag, fully taped everything. Okay, so he doesn't move. He was so proud of his performance. His mum, his dad, everyone sat in the front row, his gran, they're all so excited to see him. And he does this move called a reverse grab, which is essentially a great big spin around the pole, legs into a big V shape as he twists upside down. It's incredible. And as he did this, bearing in mind it's all being filmed, ready to put onto download for everyone, as he did this, the tape failed him, and out popped his testicles either side of his G-string. I think is the politest way to say it. Oh, and his mum and his gran was, oh yes, oh, I mean that's still fantastic, the move. Bless him.
Well,
we still talk about that.
Live performances, things go wrong. I'm sure RuPaul would have something to say about that. But
exactly,
commend him for getting up there and having a go and being true to himself and his passion and just doing it. So exactly, why not? So Annie,
exactly.
when you're not, when you're not training, when you're not working, which is obviously a lot of your time, what are you doing in your free time? Are you, trolling the internet in terms of, looking through YouTube, looking at all the amazing videos and looking at all the different new trends, etc. in your industry? I mean, what do you do for downtime? What do you enjoy doing?
Pre-COVID, downtime, I love to travel. I love whale watching. You get to go out on a boat for 6 hours, no signal on your phone. Oh, it's bliss. The last time I went was Canada a couple of years ago, and I saw orca whales, which has been my dream for a long time. So that was amazing. Now we're sort of stuck inside a lot more. It's obviously I can't go whale watching Hereford. There's not any beaches or anything like that around here. So I like to spend time with my husband and my dogs. I have 2 little sausage dogs. And this again sounds really lame. And ever since I started pole dancing, everyone told me I should not do this. But I really like to pole dance, Lucy. So I spend so much of my time teaching it and training it and seeing what's new and blah, 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 that actually, especially during COVID, it's amazing. I've got to go into the studio and I've got to train for me. I've got to dance and flow with no expectations, no planning for classes. And it's really ignited my passion again for why I do it for me. So that's been good. I was always warned, when you do a business, make sure you don't just have your hobby as your business and blah, blah, blah. But actually, it's worked out pretty well for me. Yeah. But apart from that, just like normal people, Netflix, watch TV. Yeah, just try and relax. But you understand this, as you sit and relax and you watch something, that sparks an idea for something to do with your business or a new business or something. So COVID has given me the confidence, while the studio has closed, although we're running online, I've had more time to focus on a couple of other projects that have been on the back burner for years, and maybe I haven't quite had the confidence to push forward with them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we'll talk about COVID in a bit more detail in a moment. But I just wanted to jump back momentarily to the comment you made earlier about the fact that you didn't finish university, your life became university, in the sense that you're still studying, you're still learning, you're still growing. And I think, a lot of people come to my business and train, they want to develop their skills in a specific area. They want to become better housekeepers, better butlers, better silver service, whatever it is. And it's a physical skill, right? To be a good housekeeper, you have to have the skill set to do it. So how much emphasis, obviously your life has become training, you're constantly training, you're constantly evolving. But how much emphasis do you put on that initial education through learning to be an instructor? How much do you think you should keep doing now to make you as successful as you have become?
As much as you can and as you're interested in. So I do at least one certification a year, at least. Okay. I'm constantly going to other workshops in movement, pole, dance, lots of different things. I'm always learning. I feel if you will always get something from a certification or a workshop, always, even if that thing is, I wouldn't do it like that. That's okay. I think if you become stagnant and unwilling to learn from other people and grow, you will just stop growing yourself. Yeah, sure. That didn't really make sense, but as in,
no, it does.
You've got to keep learning. I know a lot of people that have been in the industry a long time. They think, well, they know it all. I think that's really ignorant. There might be someone that's been pole dancing. So an example. Sorry, I'm just going to jump around. The example, I remember teaching someone just before COVID hit, a private lesson. She'd been pole dancing for around 9 months. And she just did a transition by mistake. And I was like, oh, that's good. That's great. I'm going to make a note of that. I'm going to work on that. And she was like, oh, really? Like, yeah. Like, just because someone's been doing something for a short amount of time doesn't mean they don't have a great idea.
Yeah.
So it's just to keep learning from everything around you, whether that's an actual written certification or you're taking a workshop from another professional, or just keeping your eyes peeled on everything around you.
Yeah, and I think that's a really fair point, because you could do a training even if it's not specifically directly related to what you do, and how other people teach, how other people even just teach the lesson subject that they're doing is going to give you yourself skills as a teacher, and it's that continual professional development that should never really stop. I mean, my grandfather, who's 98, he continued learning after he retired. He did his studies, he did a law degree, now he's doing a theology degree, he's done an accountancy degree. Like, he kept going because he believed that his brain needed that to stay alive. And he's 98, so I think it shows what you're doing is just right, because you're constantly allowing that brain, that huge muscle, and sparking of ideas, and in turn it impacts your own business. But with COVID, the world changed, and you're teaching something physical. You need potentially equipment with the pole. I mean, you must have had to suddenly put new things into place. How did COVID affect you, and what are you doing now with it?
Okay, yeah, so COVID was tough because, sorry, Frank has come to say hello. COVID was tough because we have marketed ourselves as a pole and aerial school. So the silks, trapeze and pole equipment. Not something we highly recommend getting in your own home for lots of reasons, safety being the main one. And then suddenly it was closed. And how are we supposed to run our business, which we sell on only coming to the studio suddenly remotely? So we branched out and taught flexibility, mobility, strength and conditioning specifically for pole and aerial. Okay. And then that was great, and we're still doing that. But actually it gave me a real opportunity to have a think about why I teach pole. And my main reason is to help, and I say females majority, but obviously males are welcome as well, help them find their confidence, their sensuality, and sometimes their sexuality in the respect of feeling sexual as well. So I actually branched out and started teaching more kind of confidence classes. Okay. So I teach them twice a week at the moment, and the feedback from that has been incredible, and I get 20-40 people weekly per class on that one. So while our stretch classes have 10, the confidence classes have a lot more. And that's something I've wanted to do for years, is really branch out into that side of things. And COVID hit and I was like, well, I'm just going to do this. If 2 people turn up, it doesn't matter. You can always the best thing, you can always say, oh yeah, everyone else hasn't turned up live today. They're waiting for the recording. No one knows. You can save face if you want to. So yeah, that's great. So we do all of the kind of physical stretch, mobility, strength conditioning side of things. And then me personally, I teach all of the confidence, flow, sensual side of stuff.
I love that because COVID has had such a major impact on all our lives, and we see people in financial hardships, we see people's mental health affected. you know, it's devastating because we literally, our lives changed pretty much overnight, and is still happening now. You know, we're back in another national lockdown. So, you know, this you know, autonomy and power you give to these people to allow them to express themselves, even if it's just having that 5 minutes per day for themselves, you know, to be selfish and just think about yourself for a moment, is so important to mental health, because we spend so much time thinking about others and how we can, you know, affect others and help others, often with our life, with our work, with our families. We don't often take stock and think about ourselves. So, you know, is there things you've put in place? Obviously, you've talked about this confidence boosting and the sensuality side of things that you're teaching and inviting people to join you with. But what else do you do to help with your sort of your own mental health during this process of COVID that struck us all?
So I have first of all made myself a timetable, because in the first national lockdown, I found that I was running on probably just anxiety. I was getting up at 6 a.m. and making sure I work out and stretch, and I was doing certifications and teaching and blah, 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 and I felt very productive. But looking back at that time, that was run on adrenaline. Sure. And so I learned relatively quickly that I need to timetable my day, timetable a lunch break, because when you're working at home, that's very easy to just go and grab something and not really stop. Sure. Not work on Sunday, which is ridiculous, because what even is Sunday in a lockdown? But I think it's important that you, well, for me anyway, I've made sure I timetable myself and have times where I'm definitely not working. I feel like a proper wife as well. My husband still goes to work, so I have dinner ready for when he comes home. What's that all about? But I've also taken up baking as well, which is great. That's really fun. So yeah, just making time for yourself. That sounds like such a make time for yourself, but physically so timetable something for yourself. Yeah.
No, 100% is. I'm totally with you. And you know, it's just about taking that time out from your normal routine and saying, this is for me now. I'm going to do this. Be it, you know, join one of your classes, or you know, do a session, whatever it is. You know, just sing in the shower for 20 minutes. You know, like do something that makes you feel good, and then it helps with all of that.
And also, I think as well, if you're going to watch a TV program, watch a TV program. Put your phone down, because I just find that a lot of us are watching TV, it's on in the background, we're on our phones, I don't know, you want to do your nails at the same time. So it's about teaching yourself to focus again, but focus for something that you enjoy, because somebody like yourself, you can focus on your work, that's not a problem, you know, that's all good, you start working. But as soon as it comes to your downtime, you might find that you've not focused on what it is you want to achieve during your downtime. That achievement might be that you want to relax, which you won't do if you're on your phone, for example.
I literally 100% with you. And to the point that I was having a conversation with Ben, my husband, the other day about it. And I said, we watch TV or a movie and we're on our phones. So now what we do is we watch foreign movies and foreign TV, because if you're watching something with subtitles, if you go on your phone, even for a second, you completely lost the plot and you don't know what's happening. So basically we're now watching Korean, we're watching Japanese, we're watching all the foreign stuff on Netflix, and it's fabulous because you get immersed in this other culture. So that's my top tip for people listening who want to get off their phone, is actually
that's a great idea. That is really good.
Watch foreign TV. So we're going to do a quick fire question round. So you haven't prepared for this, you don't know it's coming. I'm going to say 2 words. Say the word that you feel most drawn to. Don't think about it. You can give me an explanation as to why, or you can just literally say the word. Okay, so for example, I might say cats or dogs, and you would say?
Dogs.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Guess that from seeing. Okay, so ready, let's go. Morning or night?
Morning.
Cartier or Tiffany?
Cartier?
Netflix or party?
Netflix.
Fish or chips?
Chips.
Pole or circus?
Pole.
Brad or Angelina?
Angelina.
Rain or sun?
Sun.
Sea or swimming pool?
Sea.
Fast or slow?
Oh, slow.
Chanel or Gucci?
I'm gonna go Chanel.
Sweet or savory?
Sweet.
Eggs or bacon?
Bacon.
Britney or Madonna?
Britney.
Gold or silver?
Ooh, silver. Yeah.
Today or tomorrow?
Oh, today.
Nice, love it, thank you. So Annie, I mean, I could speak to you literally all day because I love you. I find your subjects, your conversations fascinating. I love hearing about your life, and you are such an inspiration to women and to men who just want to, you know, get in touch with their bodies, try something, be at one with themselves, and have a really good time doing it. You know, have fun, enjoy life, because as you said earlier, life is short, and COVID has really taught us that. So I think before we sort of say goodbye, I just wondered, you know, what do you believe it takes in life to succeed? What is it about the journey of life, and you know, what is behind success, and what's it all about?
So the most important thing I've learned is define success and define failure. Okay. Because if you don't do that, you're never going to succeed. I have started to define failure as not giving something a go. That's really helped me because I now know that if I don't try something, that's a little bit of a failure. But if I try it and it goes wrong, I tried. And so I gave it a go. I put everything into it. And the same with success. We never put a definition on that. And so we're always chasing something which we might not ever get to because we don't know what it is. So therefore, if we haven't put a marker on what success is, a lot of us always feel like we fail. So define those two things. And I know this sounds a bit airy-fairy, but try and find just something that makes you happy every single day. Just a little tiny thing, whether that's a flower, the sun shining, your partner smiling, whatever it is, make sure you find something that makes you happy every single day.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And that's a very true statement we should all live our lives by. So I hope everyone listening has really enjoyed today and my conversation with Annie, because I know I have. So for those of you listening in that are now going to go and find Annie on Instagram, please do, because her Instagram is amazing. You can find her Annie Norris Pole on her Instagram, and you can also find her studio Instagram, which is Pure Studio Hereford. Of course, you can find out her main website, which is pure-studios.co.uk, but definitely go and look at her Annie Norris Pole Instagram, follow her. Her stories every day are amazing. You will feel like you're part of the community. And now that we can access your courses from around the world, you know, wherever you are, from Brazil to Los Angeles to Australia, you know, you might have to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, but it's worth it to join Annie's classes. So Annie, thank you so much for joining us. It's been such a pleasure to speak to you and hear about your amazing life, and thank you.
Thanks for having me, Lucy. It's nice to see you again, and yeah, thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it. Thanks.